Ireland of Scotland. The Glasgow Times, April 7th, 1925. Attention, nurse graduates, with a sense of adventure, your own horse, your own dog, and 1,000 miles of Kentucky mountains to serve. Join my nurses' brigade and help save children's lives. Write to M. Breckenridge, Hyden, Kentucky, USA. I begin my letter to Kentucky for the 20th time. To M. Breckenridge. I am Margaret Ireland, registered nurse, 18 and a half years old. I am on staff of St. Joseph's Hospital in Glasgow, Scotland, and wish to change my whole life because... And there my letter stops. I pencil in. 6 days a week, I put on a starch uniform, and I stand next to the ward surgeon, with my hands at my sides like a parlor maid. I must never ask why he or the sister superior order anything. That's called giving cheek, and I could lose my job. I scratch this out. Instead, I put in, I love children. I am not afraid of hard work. I want to make my own path instead of slotting in to the way everyone else does things here in Glasgow. Mom and Dad call up the stairway that we will be late for church. I seal the envelope, cover it with halfpenny stamps, and post it before I can snatch it back. On June 24th, 1925, I'm 4,000 miles from home at the last stop on the Louisville and Nashville Railroad. Quickly, I put on red lipstick to look as old as I can. M. Breckenridge is there to collect me. She has brought me a horse and riding pants. I'm Mary Breckenridge, she says. Her eyes are star blue and smiling. The horse's name is Rick. He's yours. Ever been riding in the mountains? I've never set foot off the pavements of Glasgow, I answered. Mary grabs my left foot, locks it in the stirrup, and quickly shoves my bottom onto the back of the horse. Off we go. I am so scared of falling off Rick that I sit pinned in the saddle like a bronze statue. A pine branch sticks out from nowhere. It smacks me off the horse. Mary has to dismount and help me back on again. Next time, duck, says Mary. The horse swims right through the river that roars by like Noah's flood. I can't swim any better than I can ride, so I close my eyes and pretend none of this is happening. This is Thousand Sticks Mountain, says Mary, when we could hear one another again. No one knows how many cabins are up here, but the children are dying of diphtheria, typhoid, scarlet fever, and smallpox. Right now, diphtheria is the worst. I look up between my horse's ears. I cannot see a single cabin or tell where one mountain begins and another ends. Mary goes on. Diphtheria vaccine is as expensive as liquid gold. We have just enough for sick children and their families, but we need to inoculate everyone. Your job is to count every man, woman, and child in the mountains. Count them? The state of Kentucky has promised a serum for everyone if we turn in a list of the families by September. Mary leans back in her saddle. I want to be ready to set up an inoculation clinic for the whole county on October 1st. Of course, as you go, you must treat everyone who needs you. It's quite a job, Miss Ireland of Scotland. When I get off the horse at Wendover, I don't think I'll walk, or sit for a week. Nurse Texas and Nurse Peacock introduced me to all the dogs and horses. Will you be coming out in the mountains with me? I asked them shyly. Oh, no, they answered. Until we get more nurses, there's just Mary and us for the whole county. One of us must always be on call here. The other goes 20 miles down to Beech Fork. Mary's building an outpost clinic there. Over my first breakfast at Wendover, Mary says, Maggie, I'll take you up the mountains myself until you learn the ropes. After that, you're on your own. I follow her, flopping in my saddle like Raggedy Ann. Along every path, Mary points out wasp nests, certain stony river bends, and mossy tree stumps. Remember these, she says. It's how you find your way back. Mountain children watch us like owls as we pick up our way up the paths to their cabins. Some have fleas and sores on their faces, some wear shirts that are too small, and some are bare from the waist down. We have begun to count families. I keep the list in my nurse's daybook. We knock on the door of every cabin we find. There's always a child who needs our help. The mothers watch Mary's every move as she treats infected eyes and burned fingers. They look right through me. One mother asks, How old do you be? As she brushes molasses on a biscuit dough. I blush. 19, I answer smartly. I want to tell this woman to clean her kitchen table, to feed her children greens or they'll get scurvy, to brush their teeth for the love of God. I bite hard on my thoughts and swallow them whole. Later I complain to Mary. They won't let me near them. Mary tells me, you must never show annoyance with anybody, Maggie. They will think you're putting on airs. On my 8th morning at Wendover, a boy comes to the house and asks for Miss Breckenridge. His name is John Hawkins, and he's been sent by a sick child's mother far up beyond Devil's Gap. Mary's left in the middle of the night to attend to the birth of the baby. Suddenly, it is time for me to go to the mountains on my own. I saddle Rick and follow John. How will I ever find my way back? John shows me 12 trees on the mountain ridge. This is where we cross the stream, he says. After about 4 hours, John stops and points. This here's the fork to my home, he says. To the other way is Devil's Gap. Keep on. You're bound to find a real shackly cabin with a mean-eyed goat and a she-balsam tree in the front yard. Their name's Gibbs. I almost give up. Then I find the goat tied outside a half-collapsed cabin. Star Gibbs is 4 years old and has a fever of 105. Her mother's been up with her all night. Sure enough, it's milk poisoning, says Star's mother. It is diphtheria. She needs an injection, I say, or we will lose her. My man don't hold the needles, she says, so I'll turn my back. I give Star an ounce of our precious serum. 4 pairs of eyes watch me from the window. Then they disappear. The walls of the cabin are steeped in fever. Soon the whole family will be sick unless I inoculate them. I ask the children to come for their shots, but they scatter off. While her mother rests, Star lies in my lap. I wish I could give her ice cream as I would in Glasgow, but here there are no refrigerators and no ice cream. So I tell her about them and I name the flavors while her fever eases. Chocolate, vanilla, pistachio. An older sister creeps onto the porch and listens. My name's Lavender, she tells me, and she shows me her doll. It's a shred of a rag glued to a stone head. A smile and 2 eyes are painted on the stone. At sunset, the children's father comes home. Their mother mixes old coffee with hot bacon grease and pours it over biscuits and fatback. We crowd over the fly-specked table in the cabin's single room. I sit facing a wall lined with stained newspaper. The family thanks God for his family and the fatback with a red-eyed gravy. When I finish eating, I sit as straight as I can. Excuse me, I say. After supper, you must let me give you some of the medication that Star had, so that way you don't get sick too. It's only a wee jab and it won't hurt a bit. A dead silence greets the word jab. I beg the father to be first. He grins. Half his teeth are missing. Pretty young thing like you ain't sticking no needles on my tough old hide, he answers. Everyone laughs. I've lost again. The children sleep 5 to a bed. I lie down on a blanket on the floor. Someone kneels next to me in the darkness, staring. Tell again, Nursey, whispers Lavender. Tell again over about the ice creams. In the morning, Star's better, and I can leave. Her mother gives me a chicken gizzard sandwich for my saddlebag. Lavender's all bright-eyed and smiley, cheeks warm from the sun. She holds her stone doll up for a kiss goodbye. I keep the stream on my left and follow it down the mountain in the mist. Nothing looks familiar. While I search for the mossy stump by the 3rd beech tree, something ugly prickles my mind. I brush it away and think about finding the path to Wendover. It takes me the whole day. Over supper, I stare into the flames of the oil lamp. Tell me, says Mary, tell me what happened. No one lets me near them with a needle, I say. I'm a failure. I might as well go home to Scotland for all the use I am. No, Maggie, says Mary. You're still learning. October's a long way off. I tell Mary about Lavender's stone doll. In my mind's eye, Lavender says goodbye. Her eyes are so bright, her cheeks so sun-warm. At the supper table, I sit bolt upright. It had been a misty morning. Lavender's bright eyes were dilated with fever, not sun. Any nurse trainee could have seen that. I must go back up. My voice is shaking. She could be dead by morning. Mary sips her coffee. The light of the oil lamp swims in her eyes. If you were a failure, Maggie, you wouldn't hear that child calling you, she says softly. Rick does not like a night journey. In the moonlight, a possum crosses our path and spits at us. Rick balks. I gather up my reins and kick him on. I remember to keep the stream on my right. Against the dawn sky, I find the 12 trees on the mountain ridge. At 7, I find the cabin almost hidden in a patch of cloud. Lavender's lying white and still on her corncob mattress. Her mother wants me to give her the serum that saves Star's life. Her father wants me to give her whiskey and easing powder as if I were a granny woman. I tell him no. He storms around the cabin. "I wouldn't let the good Lord himself stick me with one of those pokers, not for nothing nohow," he says. Suddenly, Lavender's mother stands up and shouts, "You're a yellow-bellied coward, Enos Gibbs, afraid to have a needle your own self. Look at this beautiful, educated young lady come all the way just up here for our Lavender. You think you can out-sharp her? Look at that gold nurse badge on her. You think they give those out to nobody?" Lavender comes around slowly. We whisper the names of the ice creams, eating them in our minds. I tell her about telephones and the oceans between here and my home. That afternoon, I write in my nurse's daybook, July 3rd, 1925, 3 p.m. Gibbs family. Diffinock complete. Then I visit the next cabin and the next all the way down the mountain. I count the last family by mid-September. The state of Kentucky sends us a wagon load of vaccine. On October 1st, 1925, the Beech Fork Outpost Clinic is completed. Our first day is spent inoculating all the children from a nearby one-room schoolhouse. Neither the children nor the teacher has ever seen an electric light bulb or heard a radio. Thanks to our modern 3-kilowatt generator, we have both. Mary and I string 5 electric bulbs over our work table. The radio picks up a signal from West Virginia. The sun vanishes and the autumn evening falls quickly. The children love the light bulbs and touch them shyly. They love the sound of Betty Bumpus' band singing all the way from Charleston, but they freeze when they see the hypodermics on the table. "Needles are surely the work of the devil," says their teacher. I am furious at the teacher, but I say nothing. Mary snaps off the light and the radio and says to the teacher, "The children will do as you do. Without these shots, you'll lose half of them. Have you thought of that? Are you going to show your children cowardice or spunk?" The children wiggle in their thin dresses and frayed trousers. The teacher hangs her head. She is no match for Mary Breckenridge, and she knows it. "Have I got one brave boy or girl who will volunteer to be first to be injected?" Mary asks. No one answers. "Come along now. Who will be first?" I say. No answer. Then one little voice pipes up. It's Lavender. "I had a shot this summer," she says. "And my little sister Star, too. They don't hurt more than a pinprick." A flax-haired boy rolls up one sleeve. The rest line up one by one behind him. We snap the lights and the radio back on, and 100 years of darkness flee away. Into the mountain night floats the music of another world. A far-off orchestra plays. "I once had a wonderful dream." The children sway and follow the melody's sweetness. When we are finished, I take Lavender into the clinic's brand-new kitchen. "There's a little white house with a door," says Lavender. "It's a refrigerator," I tell her. "Open it up now." The freezer has only room for one Dixie cup. It is half chocolate, half vanilla. Lavender eats every bite as if it came straight from heaven. The radio plays, "Make believe the moon is made of silver." "I am make-believing," says Lavender.